Our reading for today comes from the 15th chapter of the Gospel of John, verses 1 through 17. I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine grower. He removes every branch in me that bears no fruit. Every branch that bears fruit, he prunes to make it bear more fruit. You have already been cleansed by the word that I have spoken to you. Abide in me as I abide in you. Just as the branch cannot bear fruit by itself unless it abides in the vine, neither can you unless you abide in me. I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who abide in me and I in them bear much fruit, because apart from me you can do nothing. Whoever does not abide in me is thrown away like a branch and withers. Such branches are gathered, thrown into the fire, and burned. If you abide in me and my words abide in you, ask for whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. My Father is glorified by this, that you bear much fruit and become my disciples. As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Abide in my love. If you keep my commandments, you will abide in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commandments and abide in his love. I have said these things to you so that my joy may be in you, and that your joy may be complete. This is my commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. No one has greater love than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command you. I do not call your servants any longer, because the servant does not know what the master is doing, but I have called your friends, because I have made known to you everything that I have heard from my Father. You did not choose me, but I choose you, and I appointed you to go and bear fruit that will last, so that the Father will give you whatever you ask him in my name. I am giving you these commands so that you may love one another. Word of God, word of life. Thanks be to God.
Good morning. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to share about our trip to Denver this past July. The 17 of us, 13 youth and 4 adults, had a wonderful week filled with learning, service, adventure, laughter, Bible study, worship, friendship, and some much-needed mountain air. For a week, we were able to embody the spirit of this Sunday, God's work, our hands, as we served the various service project sites located in and around Denver. We departed the church parking lot in two 12-passenger vans on Sunday, July 9th. Stopping in Des Moines for a Subway truck stop lunch, we played human bingo before getting back in the vans for the rest of our long drive. Thanks to Scott Tunseth's connections, we were able to spend the night at First Lutheran Church of Kearney, Nebraska, where we ordered in pizza and had the chance to play games and basketball before our nightly devotions. Our theme for the week was I Am, exploring identity through I Am statements from the book of John. We worked through all 7 of the I Am statements throughout the week, including the verse you heard this morning from John 15. After a camp out in Sunday school classrooms at First Lutheran, we hit the road early to finish the last of our travel to Denver. There was a slight mix-up with our schedule when we first arrived, so we had the chance to stop and see Red Rocks Amphitheater before continuing on to our first service project. Our afternoon project was with Brothers Redevelopment, an organization that helps Denver residents with outdoor home maintenance. We met with our project coordinator, Max, where we helped to paint Mrs. Williamson's house. Mrs. Williamson had lived in her home for over 30 years, and being well into her 80s, excuse me one second. All good. One of the perks of being up all night at work. All right. Had difficulty keeping up with her home maintenance she once did. It was wonderful to be able to talk with her and to learn about her story during water breaks while painting her house. Given the heat and the work hours of Brothers Redevelopment, we painted for a few hours before loading back into the vans to travel up to our lodging for the week at Messiah Mountain Retreat Center. Messiah Mountain is owned by the Rocky Mountain Synod and rented out for group use throughout the year. Since the Synod owns this property, they are able to provide affordable accommodations which make the outdoors more accessible for many of the ministries they serve, especially the immigrant and refugee family camps that they host. The camp was one of many of the highlights of this week, as we had the whole 22-acre property, large sleeping cabin, and kitchen facilities to ourselves. We were able to cook dinner at camp too, which became a highlight when we could all sit down together over a delicious meal prepared by Erica and the selected youth of the night. We continued with our devotion series nightly and prepared for a full week of service projects. Tuesday's project was a full morning at A Precious Child, an organization that provides low-income households home goods, clothing, and social work services, where they are able to come and shop and choose the items that they need. We sorted, donated items, and stocked their display room. After a picnic lunch, we headed to Boulder for an afternoon of shopping and exploring before heading back to camp for free time, dinner, devotions, and bed. If you followed along on our Denver blog, you know that on Wednesday morning, we split the group up into the youngins, which included 9th through 11th grade, Bryce and myself, and the old dogs, seniors, college freshmen, Erica and Scott. The old dogs went to Earthlinks, a community garden that supports homeless rehabilitation and career skills training through the use of gardening and selling natural products in a coffee shop. And the youngins stayed back at Messiah Mountain to help with trail maintenance at various other projects. After lunch in our smaller groups, we met up for an afternoon activity at Project Cure, an international medical supply distribution organization that takes donated medical supplies from hospitals and clinics, sorts and organizes them, and then provides them to hospitals and clinics around the world. Despite my favorite moments of getting to flex my nursing knowledge and explaining what the various catheters, surgical instruments, and Band-Aids are for, we were impressed by the model of organization that the organization has to travel to these clinics and develop individual plans for each of them so that they only get the supplies that they truly need and there's no excessive waste. After hours of sorting, we headed back to camp for dinner and a mountaintop worship. Thanks to Scott for leading the service and Erica for sharing the night's devotion before we had club cracker and grape juice communion. Surrounded by pines and mountains. What could be better? Thursday, we had our final day of service. We split into our groups again. The youngins got a chance to go to Earthlinks, and the old dogs went to Poet's Garden, a family garden that donates a lot of their crop to local food banks. In the afternoon, we met up with our final service project at Jeffco Action Center, a community food bank and clothing closet. Some of the youth got to sort clothes while others sorted or hauled food, and a few got to help people shop for groceries based on their service requirements. Many of the people we encountered at this service project spoke Spanish, and some of the youth had the opportunity to use their high school Spanish skills. This was one of the most impactful service projects of the week, as we got to directly talk to people struggling with food insecurity. After our project, we had the chance to debrief the week of service over dinner at Rio Grande in downtown Denver. Thank you to Erica and the Workentine/Olstead family for treating us to a night out. On Friday, we said goodbye to our service learning coordinator, Jen, and Messiah Mountain before spending our last day exploring Denver and having some fun at Elitch Gardens amusement park. After a full day of fun, we retreated to Abiding Hope Lutheran Church in Littleton before our 2-day trip home. We also had the chance to visit Corey Forsey on our way home as we went back through Des Moines and had lunch with her at Culver's before exploring her large church. While there was not nearly enough time this morning to share with you all the laughter, joy, and memories that we had throughout the week, here are some of the reflections that the youth wanted to share. The most important part of my trip to Denver was that even when I would complain about being tired and having to get up early, I would go to the service projects and see all the people we were helping and think about how they might not even have a bed to sleep in or a shelter. And it made me grateful for my home and that I was able to go on this trip. The most impactful part of the trip for me was doing the service projects, especially the ones where we helped people who were in need, like when we gave out bags of food. Something I learned about myself is that I'm willing to set aside stress or nervous feelings to help people. One of the service projects included talking to new people, and I learned that no matter how nervous or scared I was to talk to someone, I always set aside my fears so that I was able to help people the best that I could. My favorite moment of this week was when we would head back to camp. We would eat dinner together and hang out before lights out. Something I learned about the group is that no one person, but the whole group of teens on this trip were always there for each other. There wasn't one day that went by where something crazy didn't happen, but everyone was always supportive no matter what. I learned that I love helping people and how caring and willing to give a hand the group was to people we didn't know at all. My favorite service project was either helping out tidying up the grounds at camp we were staying at, or helping out at the place where we got to prepare food bags for the homeless to grab and go. Something unexpected that happened was volunteering myself to help the Spanish-speaking community at Jeffco Action Center. With the very little real-world experience I had speaking Spanish, I used what I could to communicate with people. Something unexpected that happened was all the different service projects we did, because the only thing I thought we were going to do was paint houses or serve in a soup kitchen. And lastly, I asked the youth to share where they saw God in our time away, and here are some of their answers. I saw God in every new person we met on the trip and every volunteer we worked with at all the service projects. I saw God at the work, in the praying, and the caring that was happening in so many ways. I saw God at the service projects we did. It felt like we were following God's mission to help others. I saw God when we were walking in the mountains with God's beautiful creation. And I saw God when we were helping people. When we were doing the service projects, it reminded me that God said to love your neighbors, and it felt like we were doing just that. This trip would not have been possible without your ongoing prayers, support, and generosity. We are so grateful to all of you for the opportunity to spend the week together learning, serving, growing in God's love. As we celebrate God's work, our hands today, I hope that you take a moment to reflect on all the ways you embody God's love through all you do today and every day. Once again, thank you. Amen.